A very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashington Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines first. Everything is ready to open airports for commercial tourist flights from tomorrow with all the health guidelines. Tourism Minister assures that bio-bubble introduced for the tourism sector is accepted by a number of prominent tourist attractive places. News in detail. Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga, addressing a media briefing yesterday, announced that everything is ready to open the airport for the commercial aircrafts or the tourists with effect from tomorrow. Addressing the media this morning at the BIA premises, Minister Ranatunga asserted that 16 tourist attractive sites in Sri Lanka, including Sri Dalada Maligava, have officially informed the government that they are ready to have tourists during this period as they always follow the proper health guidelines against the COVID-19 pandemic.
හැම තැනකම කරන ක්‍රමවේදයක් තියෙනවා. සංචාරකයා පිටරටින් ගුවන් යානාවට නගින්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා ඌට තියෙන්න ඕනේ ගුවන් ටිකට් පත, PCR කරපු එකේ වාර්තාව, ඊළඟට රක්ෂණය කරපු එකේ වාර්තාව, PCR වලට ගෙවපු මුදලේ සහතිකය ඒ කාරණා ටිකත් එක්ක තමයි ගුවන් යානාවට නගින්නේ. ඊළඟට ගුවන් යානාව ඇවිල්ලා බැස්සයින් පස්සේ ඔහු සාමාන්‍ය විදියට ඩියුටි ෆ්‍රී එකේ යනකොට අපි සංචාරකයාට බර දාන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි අපේ ඒ ඩියුටි ෆ්‍රී එකේ සේවකයින්ට ඒගොල්ලන්ට අදාළ ඇඳුම් ඒගොල්ලන් අඳගෙන ඉන්න ඕනි කොයි ආකාරයටද ඒක මීටරේ දුර තියාගන්නේ කොහොමද කියන ඒවා පැහැදිලි කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒ අය ඒගොල්ලන් එක එහෙම ගැවිසිලා ඒ ක්‍රමවේද අනුගමනය කරොත් ගෙදර ගියාට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ කියන එක තමයි සෞඛ්‍ය අංශය කියලා තියෙන්නේ. පෞද්ගලිය කොවිඩ් වසංගතයට පෙර වැඩිම සංචාරකෝ සංචරණය කරලා තිබෙත ප්‍රදේශ හඳුනාගෙන ඒ ස්ථාන ඒ බාරකරුවන්ට අපි ගෙන්නලා උපදෙස් දුන්නා. ඒ අයට ප්‍රදේශයේ සෞඛ්‍ය නිලධාරීන් එක්ක එක්ව වෙලා ක්‍රමවේදයක් හදාගෙන ඒගොල්ලන්ගෙත් එකගතාවය ඇති අපිට වන්න කියලා. එහෙම මේ වෙනකොට මම හිතන්නේ ස්ථාන 16ක් විතර අපිට එවලා තියෙනවා. ඒ 16ට විතරයි ඒ අයට යන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ කාල සීමාව ඉවරුනහම දින 10 14කට වඩා වැඩි නම් ඒ PCR ටෙස්ට් එක කරායින් පස්සේ ඒක නෙගටිව් නම් ඒගොල්ලන්ට සමාජගත වෙලා කටයුතු කරන්න සාමාන්‍ය විදියට පුළුවන්.
ඒ 16ට දළදා මාලිගාවත් ආයතද?
ඔව් දළදා මාලිගාවේ ක්‍රමවේද දෙකක් එවලා තියෙනවා. ඒ බාරකාර මණ්ඩලයේ ඉල්ලීමක් කරලා තිබ්බ සංචාරකවන්ට උන්ට එවන්නේ කියලා. ඒ විතරක් නෙමෙයි අනුරාධපුරයටත් ඒ නායක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා අපිට ඉල්ලීමක් කරා. අපි හැමෝටම කියන්නේ අපි එවනවා. හැබැයි ක්‍රමවේද හදාගෙන අනුමැතිය අරගෙන උවයින් පස්සේ තමයි අපි ඒ තැන් වලට අරින්න කටයුතු කරන්නේ.
Sri Lankan Airlines revealed the basic but mandatory requirements for any tourist to enter Sri Lanka. Airport and Aviation Services Director Operations Shehan Sumanasekara, speaking to a team media personnel at the Bandaranaike International Airport premises this morning, said that a COVID-19 negative report and many other areas will be checked online before issuing visa.
So the first thing that the tourists would have to attend to is they would have to go into the Sri Lankan tourism website, which is www.srilanka.travel, and enter that website, and they will have to go and have a hotel booking, a reservation done, and they'll have to choose between 53 hotels which are named safe and secure level 1 hotels. So once they kind of get that zoomed on whatever the hotel that they need to, they will also have to make a payment for the PCR test, depending on how many days they stay in Sri Lanka. If they stay 1 to 6 days, they will only have to pay $40 for one PCR test. And if they are staying beyond 7 days in Sri Lanka for tourism purposes, they will have to pay for 2 PCR tests. That's $40 into 2. At the same time, they will have to pay $12 US for a COVID insurance certificate as well when they're entering. So with all these, once they do these payments, the hotel will send the passengers via email a reference number. And this reference number can be used for them to easily go and get their visas through www.eta.gov.lk. Once this process is done, it's very easy for the passengers to very quickly go and book their tickets. At the same time, when they're booking their tickets from a designated airline, passengers will rather also have to go and obtain a PCR negative test report 72 hours prior to their flight. So these are mandatory requirements to enter Sri Lanka.
Explaining further direct operations at the airport and aviation services, Shehan Sumanasekara added that the procedure within the airport, whether it is BIA or the Mattala, will be very simple and all the possible measures have been taken to complete the documentation process within a minimum period with no room for any congestion.
Our procedure is very simple. They will obviously deplane and come through an aero bridge. And in the aero bridge, they will be going through a disinfection process very quickly. And so their legs, hands and luggage will be disinfected. And they will be taken into our pier in our airport. At that point too, they will have to make sure that every single passenger wears a mask when they're entering the terminal building. So once all that is confirmed, they will be allowed to come into the terminal and they will be guided towards the health counters. Now, when they're walking towards the health counters, we have placed thermal cameras in our pier walkway. If any passenger exceeds 37.5 Celsius in that temperature column, they will be segregated from the batch of the passengers and they will be forwarded to a health official where they will make decisions of what the next procedure that they should follow with. In terms of other passengers, they will continue to the health counter. They will have to provide the health declaration form, which is also given on board the aircraft and which we strongly recommend that every single passenger fills this in the aircraft rather than coming to the airport and filling it to avoid congestion and safety issues, etc. So once they go into the counter, they will submit the document. Very quickly, the official will transfer them through that counter to the immigration counter. And the same procedure again, immigration card to be given, and it will be checked. And within 30 to 45 seconds, that passenger will go through the immigration counter to the duty-free area.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Airport and Aviation Services Director Shehan Sumanasekara also reminded that the Sri Lankan repatriates who are returning from other countries will be directed to the National Task Force to combat COVID-19 and tourists will be systematically handed over to their early registered tour operators. Director Sumanasekara further assured that no intermediate personnel will be allowed to transactions during the process and the tourists will only be kept within the planned bio-bubble by the Tourism Ministry.
Once the passengers finish their program at the duty-free shopping area, they will be proceeded down to the belt area where they would obviously collect their baggages very quickly. Their baggages too, from the aircraft to the baggage belt, will be disinfected and they will very quickly collect their baggages along with porter services available at the baggage area. Will be transferred through customs area with officials monitoring that. They will proceed and enter the lobby area, the arrival lobby, where Sri Lankan banks are available. We have made sure the banks are opened and active. All the passengers could use the banking facilities. Once they do that, they will be segregated. We will be segregating Sri Lankans towards one exit door and the tourists to another exit door. Sri Lankans will be monitored by the COVID task force and they will be taken towards their end destination in Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka tourism personnel in the tourism industry who are recommended by Sri Lanka Tourism will welcome and collect these tourists who come to the arrival lobby and take them very systematically outside to their relevant coaches.
Central Bank also announces that the category services PMI also returned to the growth territory in December 2020, recording its index value at 55.6. Officials also stressed that the result was satisfactory as it was after recording index values less than the threshold level of 50 for 2 consecutive months. Accordingly, the increase was led by the expansions observed in new businesses, business activities, backlogs of work and expectations for activity compared to November 2020, indicating a recovery in the services sector, which was affected by the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic. New businesses increased further in December 2020, particularly with the improvements observed in financial services and insurance subsectors. Business activities in the services sector increased in December 2020 after declining for 2 consecutive months. Accommodation, food and beverage subsectors saw an improvement during the month, mainly due to the growth in domestic tourism during the holiday season. Further, business activities in transportation and wholesale and retail trade subsectors expanded owing to relaxation of travel restrictions to some extent during December 2020. Moreover, financial services and other personal services subsectors also experienced an increase in activities in December 2020. Employment sub-index increased, reflecting a moderation of decline in employment in December 2020, since some firms have started to hire new employees in line with the rise in business activities. Backlogs of work slowed down in December 2020, indicating comparatively lesser disruptions in business activities compared with the previous month. Meanwhile, Central Bank also shows that global services PMI declined to 51.8 in December 2020 from 52.2 in November 2020, signaling slowdown in expansion of global service activities. The first co-mission for productivity is giving the women force the ability to access work. This was stressed by Business Development Director of Celine Exporters, Selina Pires, addressing at the 41st National Conference of Chartered Accountants, which was held in Colombo last Monday.
We don't call it working from home, we call it working from the village, replacing laptops with handloom. We provide women with the flexible working modalities to access work. Our first core mission is to give women the ability to access work by giving them these flexible working models to work from home. So we have an 8 to 5 operation which is required from factories, but we also have the possibility to work part-time, we have the possibility to work from home, we have the possibility for women to set up their own units at home. So we have mothers who will leave their children in school, come back, work for a couple of hours, take their work and their child home and continue to work. We believe that this flexibility is important because as a woman, not only in the rural areas of this country but also in the urban areas, the inability to have flexible working conditions is the key reason they can't access work. So as business, we have to ensure that we give them this flexibility. And especially to women who are now married, who have children, who have seniors to take care of, without having these flexible working models. That's the reason why there's only 34 to 36% of women in the workforce in our country. It doesn't matter how educated we are if we don't have the flexibility in our work.
We'll be back with stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. The trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 75.48 points to close at 7,884.45, and the S&P SL 20 gained 37.32 points to close at 3,096.35. The turnover was 93.7 billion rupees and over 287 billion shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. And that's all the news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care. Good night.